Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravacharini Nirvishesha Shanyamani Paschamyari Shatarini Shivobhadaki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hey, welcome. If your first lesson in the series. This is the last lesson, but
yeah.
Oh well. Better late than never.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Kim.
Kim, Suresvara Das.
Hi,
Right.
my old friend is Dr. Kim.
Okay. In Sanskrit it means what? Like Kim Purushas.
Yes.
What kind of a man is Kim Purusha?
Kinkara.
Kinkara.
What shall I do? The servant, the name of the servant.
Okay, so this is the 10th and final lesson of the series, and it's the final lesson of the Prayojana section. It's called Your Srila Prabhupada, and I just suggest a couple of standard ways. It's a reminder, really, that we can all come closer to Srila Prabhupada regardless of our generation or zone or any material external circumstance. Lesson 10, Your Srila Prabhupada. Before we look at some ways to access and nourish our personal relationship with our founder Acaraya, let's consider how Srila Prabhupada is for everyone. So I chose this slide as the title slide for the lesson because I found the Prabhupada's expression and gesture here very endearing. But there's so many, right? Like I asked, what's your favorite image of Prabhupada? And it's hard to say. Depends on your mood, time of day, season. There's so many. And maybe I'll ask again. Do you have any one that you find endearing? Picture of Prabhupada that endears Prabhupada to you? You know what I mean by that? That's English. It seems like Prabhupada is really trying to reach somebody here. He's really trying to make a point in a heartfelt way that will really reach someone. That's just my takeaway.
Did you ask if we have some specific?
Yeah, do you have a favorite image? Can you describe a favorite image of yours where you find his expression and gesture particularly endearing?
Can you use the mic?
I was just saying,
Oh, the mic.
sorry.
There it is.
Can you use the mic?
It's right there.
Yeah.
And I just read this.
Can you turn it on?
I read this book with Yamuna, and to see Prabhupada in this when these two they were walking in this
Tittenhurst.
yeah, out in the lawn, and it was like moist, the grass, and it was like so sober, and but it was just like it was just like so beautiful how close the disciple could be, even female disciples could be like very close to Srila Prabhupada, but in a very such a sweetness and a very sober way. And at one point, I think Srila Prabhupada got a stone or something in his shoes, and he had to take it out. I don't remember how it got out, but it was just this intimate pictures. I mean, every day I'm a member of the Srila Prabhupada Tribute Open Vyasapuja book.
Oh, good. You're part of the team?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I try to,
Yeah.
whenever I see a beautiful picture, we post it there.
Good. Yeah,
So
I
it is
remember that picture you're talking about. Prabhupada has a big black overcoat on.
Yes.
With a big black hat.
Yeah.
And Jamuna is really right next to it. And it's very sober and intimate too, but very transcendental. Yeah. Did you read Jamuna's books?
Yes.
The two books?
Yes.
Was it in the books?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because that's a famous shot too. Tittenhurst, John estate. Yeah, a lot of things happen here. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. You are Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada smiles and gestures to make a point. Now we will look at how Srila Prabhupada is for everyone.
You accidentally deactivated the window.
Oops. Okay. There's an early picture of Srila Prabhupada. I always thought it was the West Coast, but I learned recently it's the East Coast. Which surprised me. There's something very West Coast about that, which is lost on you folks because you're from Denmark. It just looks West Coasty to me. It looks California to me. Anyway. Universal teacher. Oh look, why don't we lower the, because we got this nail here, it looks goofy. It's probably gonna, or two nails. It's probably gonna get in the way of,
I don't know because I can lower it, but there's this thing underneath, that's all I can do. Put it down.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yeah.
It's not too low
Is that
for
right?
anyone to sleep? No, it's
I think it's okay because everybody's on the floor.
Sure.
It's too high, you're gonna hurt your neck.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, universal teacher. So, as you may recall, Srila Prabhupada, from lesson 4, he was asked to speak in 1935 at the Bombay Gaudiya Mutt, giving the Vyasa Puja address in English at the launch of the Bombay Gaudiya Mutt. And that was the beginning of the story where it ended up in the blessing Prabhupada received because the poem he wrote was even more pleasing than the address, which was amazing enough. And then Bhaktisiddhanta said, whatever he writes, publish it, print it. That's quite an endorsement, quite a boon. So, in his 1935 public Vyasa Puja homage for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, delivered at the Bombay Gaudiya Mutt, Srila Prabhupada declared, quote, the Acaraya Dev to whom we have assembled tonight to offer our humble homage is not the guru of a sectarian institution or one out of many differing exponents of the truth. On the contrary, he is the Jagat Guru, the guru of all of us. The only difference is that some obey him wholeheartedly, while others do not obey him directly. So Prabhupada's making the point. Siddhanta Saraswati, whether people know it or not, is everyone's guru. Now, 36 years later, in 1971, Prabhupada was at a San Francisco Rath Yatra, and a reporter asked him a question. Yadaprabhu.
In June 1971, when Srila Prabhupada attended the San Francisco Yatra, the reporter asked him how many disciples he had.
So, Prabhupada said something very bold that echoed what he said about his own guru 36 years earlier.
Unlimited, Srila Prabhupada said, some admit and some don't admit. Admit you are a servant of Lord Krishna and your life will be a success.
And you've got to be pure to say something like that and not sound like an egomaniac. Unlimited, right? So Prabhupada is actually a universal teacher, and he was able to reach all kinds of people, cut through all kinds of karmic layers, whether it was ethnic, racial, geographical, cultural. He had that ability to do that. It was uncanny how Prabhupada could connect with people. So he's a universal teacher. Fully surrendered to and empowered by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and the previous acharyas, our Srila Prabhupada was able to teach Krishna consciousness with universal appeal. For example, when Prabhupada came to America and we started joining, the furthest thing from our minds, even though Prabhupada was from India and was preaching the Vedic wisdom, the furthest thing from our minds was that we were becoming Hindus or Indians, or, Prabhupada was just on a transcendental plane that we didn't think like that. Okay, universal teacher, that's one way Prabhupada is for everyone. Group. Global preacher, where is Srila Prabhupada? There. He's in Europe, I'll give you a hint.
Switzerland.
Yes.
Because I can see, what's his name? Jai Gurudev. No,
Guru Varanga.
Guru Varanga.
Okay, yeah. Recently he's become active helping the Zurich temple again, after being kind of distant from this guy for so many years. They told me this in Zurich. And there's Srila Prabhupada. And this is Satsvarup Maharaj.
Oh yeah, I mixed them up.
Deplaning out of the belly of the plane, which I don't know if they do that anymore. I don't think they do. Somebody told me they don't do that ever since hijacking started. For some reason it's helping the hijackers, I don't know. Anyway. So they're coming out. Prabhupada's, I think it's his one and only visit to Geneva. Yeah. And we had a quote from him earlier to the World Health Organization about Varna Sankara, which he said in Geneva. Now, global preacher. Okay, so this is an example of Prabhupada's traveling. Now, this is a letter from Prabhupada to a person who invited him to the San Francisco Rath Yatra. And Prabhupada answers this way, in a way that reminds us that he's a global preacher. Quote, regarding your invitation that I attend the Rath Yatra festival in San Francisco on July 7th, and this is 1974, Prabhupada's talking about too. It is possible that I may attend, depending on when I finish my European tour. I am due to arrive in Rome on May 23rd. Then, after a week, Geneva. And that's where he is now, he's in Geneva. Then Paris, and possibly Stockholm, Germany, and England. If there is time, I can fly directly from Europe to Los Angeles. Now, London to LA, that's a 14-hour ride. I've done that. It's brutal. Especially when I flew People Airlines, packed into a sardine seat, next to somebody drooling their meat all over me. Terrible. Anyway, it was grueling. If there is time, I can fly directly from Europe to Los Angeles and go to the festival. Now, the festival is in San Francisco. He's still got to take another ride from LA to San Fran, so that's another hop. And go to the festival. Then, as you suggest, go to Australia Rath Yatra via Hawaii. That's another marathon. And then Prabhupada says, this is known as Jet Age Parivrajakacharia. Now, believe it or not, Prabhupada didn't coin that. He was repeating something he read in the paper. Some Indian journalist noticed Prabhupada's schedule and called him a Jet Age Swami. A Jet Age Swami. Prabhupada sort of embellished it here. Jet Age Parivrajakacharia. So in this way, Prabhupada is a global preacher. But of course, no matter what you do in this world, even if it's amazing, someone's going to find fault with it, right? So, my godbrother, the late Baba Boogie Prabhu, once said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, they said if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Krishna consciousness in the Western countries, why didn't he go there himself? Prabhupada answered, so he left the credit for me. He loves his devotee more than himself. Just see. Yeah, that was in Harishari's first diary, 1976, January. You just came in late, so before we look at our Prabhupada, then we're looking at how Prabhupada's for everybody. Okay, what did I do? I didn't even scroll. Okay. So Janardhan Prabhu, why don't you read that?
What's this?
Global preacher. In 12 years, Srila Prabhupada circled the globe 14 times and established the Krishna consciousness movement on every major continent.
I put major in there because, to my knowledge, he didn't go to the polar continents. Why?
Help people.
Because there's only elementary penguins there, right? And they're not chanting Hare Krishna.
And ice bears.
4 horses.
Every major continent, yeah. Okay, there's more.
He also initiated thousands of followers and continues to inspire countless more to surrender to Krishna
as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
I guarantee, if you just read Prabhupada's itinerary, you will get jet lag. Just reading the itinerary. And as I mentioned, Prabhupada did not know what jet lag was. He just instantly adapted to the time. And then he would criticize his men for crashing. You are worse than karmis. Karmis work hard for their sense gratification. They're simply eating and sleeping. You are useless. Do not mind. It's my duty to criticize you. Okay. Low preacher. Alright. How about this? Oop. Matchless giver. Yeah, Prabhupada. Just giving and giving and giving. I mean, practically speaking, Prabhupada wore himself out for us. That's what he did. He just, did I mention, his days and nights weren't like ours. He would just nap. You know, we crash out, and he goes to bed at 10, while the servant is falling asleep, trying to massage him to sleep. And then Prabhupada gets up at 12 to translate, through the night. And then he naps a little after breakfast and naps a little after lunch. So this way it's kind of a seamless, and also, the servants would say, and the Prabhupada would go to sleep, and then he'd wake up. If he happened to be with him when he was waking, he would just open his eyes, and it was though he was with Krishna before, or with Krishna while he was sleeping, and then he was Krishna conscious when he woke up. There was no, like me climbing out of, the depths of Tamagunam to get up, but it's like, it wasn't like that with Prabhupada. Okay, so matchless giver. While pioneering Krishna consciousness on many fronts over 12 years. Okay, let me scroll this in. So, want to read?
Srila Prabhupada founded over 100 Hare Krishna temples, schools, farms, and restaurants. All while writing and publishing dozens of translations and commentaries on foundational Vaishnava scriptures.
Now this is nothing short of superhuman. That while you're doing all this traveling, which is exhausting enough, you're writing books? Come on. I mean, it's practically impossible. I mean, writing itself is very intense labor, concentration. And so you're constantly having to uproot and go to new places and pack and unpack. And, it's very unsettling. And take it from me. And the Prabhupada, while he's doing that, it's not enough that he's exploding a movement all over the world on so many fronts. But he's writing all these books. And it's just superhuman, really. So, what am I saying? While pioneering Krishna consciousness on many fronts over 12 years, how did Srila Prabhupada find the time to write so many books?
He didn't sleep very much.
That's right. As we've said, he didn't sleep much. He sacrificed that, for, there was a conversation, yes, Nairobi, February 1972. Brahmananda Swami is there, and all these Gujarati Indians are there. That's how Brahmananda got the yatra off the ground, the large Indian community. And a man asked a question, how to chant with quality. So Prabhupada says, what does he say? And Brahmananda Swami, Prabhupada, he wants to know how to chant Hare Krishna with quality. And so Prabhupada said, oh, you want to chant with quality? Well, and then he starts talking about his translation work. People like my books because I cannot do without this translating. I have to get up and because I cannot do without it. It's like breathing to him, or like if you ever were underwater and you found yourself farther away from the surface than maybe you thought, and you're struggling to get to the surface to take that breath of air. So when you're that focused, as a drowning man, more than a drowning man wants air, more than Prabhupada, Prabhupada says, he says, I have to translate. It's my life and soul. So when you're like that, then you can chant with quality. When chanting becomes like as vital to you as that, then you can chant with quality. So, matchless giver. He didn't sleep much, which Prabhupada, sometimes he would be going to take rest and he'd say, now I'm going to waste my time. And I'm thinking, oh, what a relief, I get to sleep. Right? But Prabhupada is, it's a waste of time. Another short sleeper is the cow, to whom Srila Prabhupada would sometimes compare himself. And the first time I saw Srila Prabhupada, I thought he looked like he looked like a cow, but after the kirtan stopped and Prabhupada said the Prema prayers, then someone handed him a big plate of sweet balls. Well, first he took the chalice and he put the water in his mouth and way high, and we were looking, wow. And then somebody handed him a big plate of sweets and fruit. And so Prabhupada took a Simply Wonderful and he just threw it in his mouth. And we'd never seen that before, Prabhupada just popped it in his mouth, he just threw it in. And there was a little crumb here, because I was sitting over there, so I saw the crumb. And then Prabhupada took his tongue and went, and sort of flicked it in, and I thought, that's just like a cow. Prabhupada had these big, full lips, like a cow. And to me, it looks like a cow. And that's a compliment. Although Prabhupada did once say, what's the most beautiful animal? And the devotee said, the cow, Prabhupada. Thinking, Prabhupada said, no, the horse. Okay. Another short sleeper is the cow, to whom Prabhupada would sometimes compare himself. In his memories of Srila Prabhupada, Guru Das reports that once in Bombay, he told Srila Prabhupada he was concerned not enough people would show up for an engagement the devotees had arranged. Srila Prabhupada replied, no, I'm like a cow. I give milk anywhere. This is what I like to do. Whether a few people are in the pasture or a whole bunch. And Prabhupada also said once, somebody wrote and said, Prabhupada was going somewhere, and it wasn't that far away. And so the devotees wanted to know, Srila Prabhupada, are you going to take prasadam before you leave, or do you want to take prasadam when you get here? And Prabhupada said, I can take prasadam in both places. I'm like a cow. I can eat in this pasture or that pasture. And the Gita Mahatmya, the Gita is compared to a cow. You know that Gita Mahatmya? It's in the introduction. Sargo Panishado Gavo Dogda Gopalanandana Parto Vatsak Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. The Bhagavad Gita, this Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, is just like a cow. And Lord Krishna, who was famous as a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf. And learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarine milk of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so Prabhupada is for everybody because he's just giving to everybody.